Looky, looky. It's a Masterbuilt 30-inch digital electric smoker on wheels. Tired of dragging your smoker around on those flimsy legs with no wheels and you feel like you're just wrecking the thing? You do that about 10 or 20 times and it's going to basically start to feel like it's falling apart. You want some wheels on that son of a gun. Unfortunately, the wheel kit for these things costs $50. That's how they get you, folks. That's how they get you. So I wasn't going to pay $50. I added wheels to my smoker for free using stuff I got around the house, scrap pieces of 2x4, some construction screws, some casters that I took from another project, and just various miscellaneous hardware, nuts and bolts. I was able to add wheels to my smoker for free, and works great. The two wheels in the front have locking brakes, so it doesn't roll around when I don't want it to roll around, and then it's easy to unlock those and then roll it wherever I need to roll it, and I love it. Let me show you how easy it is to put wheels on your smoker for free. Okay, so here we are. This is what we're starting with. Just a basic Masterbuilt 30-inch digital electric smoker with the standard base that it comes with. And as you can see, there's no wheels on that base. I put it together well so it's nice and sturdy. As sturdy as it can be. But if you're moving this thing around back and forth every time you use it, in and out of the garage, that thing's going to get rickety and just going to be very unpleasant to use. So we need to get need to build our base to put our caster wheels on, and that's where this comes in. Here's our materials. Got a few pieces of 2x4 there that I've already cut to length, and I've got some caster wheels that I took from another project. There's no reason to go out and buy any of this stuff. Everybody knows somebody with a 2x4 laying around. The caster wheels, you can take them off of some other old thing that you find at a garage sale, or a lot of people have those laying around. If you really want to, you can buy some. I'll put a link in the description where you can get some from Amazon. But my caster wheels, a couple of them have brakes, locking brakes, which is nice because you don't want your smoker rolling downhill from you. I think that's important. You don't need to have a brake on every one of them, but a couple of them should have brakes. And my 2x4s, before I even got started, I measured my base, the width and the length, or the width and the depth, you might say, so that I would know how big my base needs to be. And then I cut my boards accordingly. They're already cut there. There's a lot of different ways you can do that. Depends on how you want to design your base, what smoker you have, etc. Once I get this kind of set up here, you'll see why I made my boards the length that I did. And so the next step is to do kind of a dry fit, a dry run with these boards. Set the smoker up on the boards and make sure everything lines up right. Kind of plan how we're going to fasten all this together. And that's what we'll do next. Okay, so I finished mocking up the boards. I've got everything placed where I think it's going to go. And as you can see, it all works out pretty well. I like how the two boards on top that are used kind of just to keep everything spaced apart and rigid, they won't be causing any clearance problems because they're on top of the boards that have the wheels, not below them. So that works out nice, that there's room for those to sneak between the boards with the wheels and the metal rails, cross rails. And you can also see where I'm going to put the caster wheels. Of course, they'll be below the board, not on top of it, but this is just for kind of planning and kind of demonstrating where they're going to go. This is one of the caster wheels that has the locking brake on it. I'll drill some holes and use a little wood glue and then I'll use, you can see one here, I've got these 3-inch construction screws, just kind of like standard construction screws for fastening 2x4s and other stuff. They'll work fine. I had some extras from a past project, so you don't want to have to go out and buy this kind of stuff. Everyone should have it laying around, and if you don't, you can probably find someone to lend you some of this stuff. And yeah, that's how it's going to work. It's just once it's all fastened together, the wheels will be on the bottom, of course. Easy peasy. And the next step is to drill the holes, apply the glue, and fasten those boards together with those screws. And we'll go ahead and do that next and be back shortly. Okay, so there's the base all fastened together with those 3-inch construction screws. I ended up using 4 at each spot where the boards connect. I did glue the boards up with wood glue before I fastened them together with the screws. I did pre-drill the screw holes. That just makes it easier and less sloppy, and you avoid splitting your wood. Probably not necessary though. I did countersink the screw holes so that those construction screws fit nice and flush. Also probably not necessary. So of course I did all of this without the smoker on the boards. I just placed the smoker back on there to make sure that it's all fastened together so that everything fits, and it does. It's all nice and just like I laid it out. So I don't recommend measuring and doing everything by measurement. I recommend dry fitting everything together and marking the boards up with pencil so that you know exactly how everything should fit together, because everything is not always true. And just going by measurement I don't think is a good idea. The way I've got it here, everything is nice and snug. Those legs are nice and snug up against those connecting boards, and yeah, easy peasy. You know, I'm assuming everybody knows how to drill a hole, drive a screw, all that. Not everybody does. Nothing wrong with that. I'm not exactly a master carpenter myself. I'm not going to bother showing you the details of stuff like that. There's videos for that if you're not sure how to do something like that. But that's the basic idea, and the next step is to flip that base over and attach the wheels. And so that's what we'll do next. Stay tuned. Okay, so we have the casters, we have the wheels installed, 4 screws per wheel, and there you can see there's one of the screws that I used. It's a 1.5 inch screw, so just the right length to go into a 2x4, accounting for the 1/8 inch or so of the metal plate on the wheels, so it doesn't go all the way through. So those worked out good. Definitely recommend pre-drilling. It's really a must in this case, since these are all so close to the ends of the boards. So I pre-drilled the holes with a bit that's slightly smaller than the screws, and they're pretty solid. So next step is to drill a hole in the bottom of each leg of the smoker so that I can attach the smoker to this base. So that's coming next. Okay, so I tipped the smoker back onto its back. Have a little piece of foam back there so it doesn't get damaged. Tipped it back and drilled a hole in the bottom of each of the 4 legs. They don't have to be in any precise location, just kind of you know, you got to leave room for them to basically take hold with a washer, and you don't want them into the corner so much that you can't, get in there with a screwdriver or whatever you need to do when you actually fasten them down. As you can see, I just used a bolt, a machine screw with a nut and a locking washer and a flat washer on both ends, long enough to go through a 2x4, and that should do it. And like I said, the holes don't have to be in a precise spot because I'm going to tip this back up onto its base and then mark the holes with a felt tip pen so I know where to drill. And that's what I'll do next. Okay, so remember, after drilling those holes, I put the smoker on its base and I used a black Sharpie through the holes to mark on the boards where the holes are located. And then I drilled into the boards for the bolts. Made 4 holes for the 4 bolts, and then I threaded those, ran those bolts through. I'm trying to see where you can get a good view of this. There's one down at the bottom right corner, the bottom left corner from where I'm standing. You can see it inside the leg there. That is the round-headed machine screw top with a flat washer, and then on the other side is a flat washer, locking washer, and a nut. And I locked those down nice and tight. They're not going anywhere. If you had to, so I got 4 of those. If you had to, you could put a little blue Loctite on there, just to make sure they don't come loose. I don't think they're going to come loose with those locking washers. I even thought about maybe putting wing nuts on there so I could really quickly take the base on and off, but I think I'm going to always have this wheel set up on there, so I figured, you know what, I'm just going to lock it down and make it more secure than it would be with wing nuts. And yeah, pretty easy. Now, if your smoker has a different kind of base, you're gonna basically have to do something similar but slightly different. Maybe use slightly different hardware to fasten those bolts on there, or those boards on there. But should be able to do something like this. A lot of the master built electric smokers have this kind of base, these kinds of legs, so should be able to do something similar. Just make sure you dry fit the boards, so that your setup's gonna work before you fasten everything together, and should be good. The really nice thing about this whole setup is none of these fasteners that I've used in the whole process are load bearing. All of these fasteners are really just to keep things from sliding around. The boards rest on top of the wheels. The smoker rests on top of the boards. None of those fasteners are necessary to, support a load. They just keep things from sliding around, keep everything in place. So really it's the boards and the wheels that are doing all the work, and it should hold up pretty well. We'll find out. So there you have it, folks. The base for my smoker with the casters on the bottom so it rolls around nice and neat it's all finished. Pretty easy, and pretty much just scraps, leftover scraps of wood and some caster wheels. You can find those caster wheels, take them off something else that you don't need anymore. If you have to, you can buy them. They're pretty cheap. I'll have some links to where you can get casters and some other stuff in the description, but you should be able to do this for free, just with stuff that you've already got laying around. Most people have some scraps. If you don't, you can ask somebody. Should be able to post on Facebook and find someone near you who's got some scraps of wood, some old caster wheels, and that way you can roll your smoker around without you know, without damaging it. It's a lot more convenient. You might be wondering why I used the dimensions I did for the wood. I could have made those boards shorter and put the caster wheels right below the legs, but then the caster wheels would have interacted in an unpleasant way with the bolts, the tie-down bolts. So by doing it this way, the wheels are not directly underneath the tie-down bolts, and I have room to put everything together, and it makes the base a little wider, a little more stable. You know, if you really wanted, if space is tight in your garage or wherever you're keeping your smoker, you know, maybe you do something a little different, but you should be able to do something like this, and it's pretty easy to do. So hope you find this how-to video useful, and please let me know what you think. Please let me know if it helped you out. Comment, like, and subscribe, all that stuff, and we'll see you at the next video.